So your 3D printer finally showed up. Well, now what? I'm not going to go through an unboxing because there's enough of those on the internet already. But here we have our P1S. We got some PLA filaments and a little bit of PETG. Now, I've already done a video on what I like to do with my PETG and how I dry it in a food dehydrator. But you can always buy a filament dryer and do it that way. Put a couple of desiccant bags in here, throw it in a gallon Ziploc bag. That's what I do when I first get it in the mail. Then I know when I need to use it, it's going to be dry. So, you got a printer. You're excited. Now what are you going to do? Well, you're going to print a bunch of trinkety stuff for around the house. And that's good. That's what you should do. But what's one of the first things you should print? A poop bucket. Definitely. Especially if you have an AMS. If you have an AMS and you're doing multicolor prints, you're going to need the biggest poop bucket you can. This won't cut it. So, you're going to print a poop bucket. You're probably also going to print some stuff for around the house. Like you might print battery holders for all your DeWalt batteries. At least, that's what I did. I even printed a holder for my Craig little painting puck things. So this hangs on the wall and those go in it. So why is all of that important? Well, it's important because it, number one, gets you used to how long stuff is going to take to print. It takes a lot longer to print this than it does this. And how is your printer going to react? Let's say you have a P1S and there's a breeze blowing through there and you're not closing the door all the way. Well, it's going to act different. Bed adhesion is going to be different. And you need to know all those things before you get into more intricate prints. Now, what about when you get into more intricate prints? Well, you really need to figure out Bamboo Labs. This is just assuming that you're pulling prints from online and you're going to use them for personal use, or you have permission to sell them. But if you pull a print from, Maker World, you want to know in Bamboo Labs, how do I color certain parts of it or whatever? So you're really going to want to start getting into the Bamboo Lab studio and really into the slicer and figuring out how to change colors, how to change scale, how to change scale one way but not the other way, and how to maximize your efficiency on what you have on your print plate. So you want to do these things first, get them out of the way, see how your plastics perform in the area that you have them in. We'll talk about area in a minute. And you really want to know what's the bottom of that look like when it's sitting against that textured plate. Maybe you want to get a smooth plate so you can have some stuff that's really smooth on the bottom. And you want to know, what do the layer lines look like with PLA versus PETG and all those things. And what this is getting you is experience. The more you print, the more experience you have. And the better your prints are going to be. So, now you've printed everything that you could possibly print for yourself. Now what do? Well, you start printing stuff for other people in your family, friends. And you see how useful they are, because you're going to print this and you're going to be like, oh man, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And they might be like, great, it's a red bucket. And they may not be as overjoyed as you are. So print some things out for family and friends, give it to them as gifts, give it to them as, whatever. That opens the door for them to provide you with what their problems are that need solved. And that gives you a little bit of insight into, hey, what else can I print? Okay, you're not trying to dig it all out of your own brain. You can pull it from that hive mentality. And then you get into designing. So whether that's with Tinkercad or Fusion or whatever CAD software you're going to use, you can start designing things and figure out the intricacies of that and how different tolerances and different thicknesses, millimeter or inches, is going to hold up to certain stresses and different print orientations even. So just because you got the Bamboo Labs printer in the mail, you have your filament, does not mean that you are 100% ready to go. There are a few things you need to learn. Like I said, start slow, start simple, start with other people's designs, and print the things that you need, that you want. If you have a broom that sits in the corner, well, get on Maker World and look for a broom holder, and you'll find one, and you'll find one that you like, and you print that out, and that teaches you the tolerances and the attributes of your printer specifically. Then, like I said, from there, go into giving things away as gifts, start designing your own stuff. And once you get a good knack for all of that, chances are you're going to be ready to maybe start selling something online, whether that's just marketplace or whether you start an Etsy store. But typically, once you go from printing things for yourself to designing and printing things for your friends and family, that's when you find that one or two niche products that kind of catapults you into treating this as a business. Now let's talk about where you should place this. I live in Maine. We don't have a heated garage. It stays about 40 something degrees in here through the winter time, so not too bad, but we don't have heat. And I don't want to affect bed adhesion, layer adhesion, melting properties by keeping it in a cold environment. So we currently keep ours upstairs. We will eventually move them down here. And I say them because the next logical step is to buy another one. You're going to buy another printer. I guarantee it. I don't know many people that only have one 3D printer. It usually turns into 2 or 3. We have 3 and more on the way, I hope. Then you have to start thinking about where they're placed, what kind of shelf you have them on, or desk or whatever. If one of them is moving because it's printing and it's moving very little, is that going to affect the motion of the other one? Is it sturdy enough that I don't have to worry about isolating the 2 or 3 or 4 machines? Can I, print everything fine, or do I need to find a way to isolate them with, say, some foam insulation, or there's a bunch of different techniques out there on the internet to isolate one printer from another. Let's say you didn't get an AMS. You ended up with an A1. You didn't get the AMS with it. Maybe you got a P1P, didn't have the AMS, or a P1S, didn't have the AMS. You're really going to want to think about, is it cost effective and time management effective to go through multicolored prints with a printer without an AMS? You can do it. There are spots in the G code where you can pause it so you can do filament changes, and you can theoretically, I guess, change out your filaments as the colors change. But if you look at something like this fridge magnet, the amount of color changes that happened, it wasn't just one. This one may have been 10 or 12 different color changes as it would lay down a layer of black. It would go change color to yellow, lay down a little layer of yellow just in the words. Then it would go back, change to black, change to yellow, change to black. So that's not very time efficient. And an AMS is well worth it. Our first P1P, we did not get the AMS with it. Our next printer, which we bought 1 week later, was a P1S, and we did buy the AMS. We liked it so much that we bought an AMS for our P1P so that we could have multicolor prints on both of those printers, and then we ended up buying another combo, P1S with AMS. So I am a huge advocate of the AMS. And then there are a couple of other things that you're going to want to take into account as you design and build things, whether you're designing them yourself or you're doing them off of somebody else's plans. Sometimes there's hardware that you need to put in there, whether it's the print will pause long enough for you to put nuts in or magnets or something like that in your parts, and then it will resume, and those that hardware is captured inside of the print. Another way is using heat set inserts and hardware. For that, you're going to need at least a soldering iron with a special tip. You can also get some presses that will heat up the insert and press it into the plastic, a little straighter, a little truer maybe. So I will leave the links in the description below for a couple of those options, as well as a really good set of metric heat set knurled inserts, threaded inserts. It's a really good set, goes from M2 to M6, which is going to cover most of the things that you're going to have to assemble if you had to assemble something. I will also leave a link in the description for the food dehydrator that we use, as well as a few other things. So check the link, or check the description for those links. And it doesn't cost you anything extra. I do get a little bit of commission off that. It's an Amazon affiliate. But it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it helps support the channel. So congratulations on getting your first 3D printer. Have fun with it. Take your time. Know that you're going to fail some prints. Some prints are just not going to happen. If you're having bed adhesion issues, I've learned to up my bed temperature a little bit for the initial layer. But there are YouTube videos on all of those issues that you're going to have. So once you have an issue, research it, find out how to fix it. And once you become better at printing, like I said, print for your friends and family. And then ask them for ideas on what they could use around the house to help solve their problems. And that's going to get you into the mindset of not printing what you want to print, because that's not what sells. You want to print what other people want, what other people need to solve other people's problems. So thanks for watching. Just a quick little video on what's next after you get it unboxed and set up. It's so easy to set up. I didn't want to go through that. I didn't want to make a video doing that. There's plenty of them, and it's really a simple process. Now that you have it set up, go ahead and print yourself a poop bucket and a scraper. You need that scraper. You need a scraper. And then start having fun with it and see what problems you can solve. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.